Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on and repotting this native Canadian white pine. I collected this white pine on one of our club collection trips long ago, and I'll show you a clip of that.
So here's our first tree we're going to collect. It's a little Canadian white pine. My son Julian's helping out today. Okay, here we go. Pine out of the way. There.
Since I collected the tree, it's been growing quite well. The bend in the trunk there happened this winter. It got a whole bunch of snow and ice on the top, and it kind of bent the tree over, and it never fully straightened up. So it's got a bend in it now. I got a bit of dieback this year. You can see there's a brown branch back there. But generally it's been growing quite well, fairly predictable. I did cut off a branch last year that had no candles on it. I just shortened a branch, and I don't see any growth around that tip. I'll show you a close-up of that. Here's a close-up of that branch. So I just cut it off here. And there's a lot of healthy needles below it, but I don't see any new buds forming this year on that branch. It still looks really healthy. It's not going to die or anything, but I'm surprised there's not candles on it this spring, you know, even small ones. But nothing. So I don't know, we'll see what happens in that area. Maybe with the next update I can show you what happened with this branch, if it lived or died or started growing. I did notice some ants on this one branch, and I had a look, and I think there's some aphids in there. So I'm going to give it a spray with soap and water just to make sure there's no insects on the tree. All right, I'll give the tree a spray with soap and water now. I spray the surface of the soil too, just in case there's any aphids crawling on it. Get rid of those too. All right, I'll let that sit a bit and then I'll rinse it off. The tree has stood for a few minutes, so I'll give it a rinse down now. There is a branch here that I cut back, and it does have a new candle on it, or a new shoot. I'll show you that. Right up here in the apex, there's this branch here. I cut it off, pruned it off, and now there's a side bud coming off of it right here. So that's good. That's encouraging. It shows, you know, that technique can work. Hopefully this branch will develop some new shoots on it someday. Maybe it'll take, you know, maybe next year it'll get some candles coming out of it. I think my first operation on this tree will be to do a bit of pruning, trying to get the tree a little more compact. I don't want to lose all my ramification, but I just want to, you know, keep the branches in check so it's not getting too wide and sprawling, because it is a very slender, thin trunk tree, so I've got to keep the upper canopy kind of in check with the thickness of the trunk. I'm going to begin the pruning. The first thing I'll do is I'll take off this dead branch here, like that. Get rid of that. It does look like there's a bud coming off the trunk here, so that's kind of encouraging too, to get some back budding on the tree. So hopefully I can keep it super healthy and, you know, generate more back budding, get it more dense and, you know, underway. So this branch looks good. This one's good. This one's fine. I could reduce that one back, but it would be under the shade of this one above it. So I've got to keep it kind of long to keep it in the sun. If you look from the side view, how it's kind of in the shadow except for the very end here. This one I could reduce back slightly, but I don't think there's any point. There's just one little shoot back here. I think it's better to get some vigor into these lower branches. Up above, I can definitely do a little pruning up here. I've got this branch comes out and divides into 3, so I'm going to take off the longest shoot and keep 2. So I take the tip off there. There's a branch here also that I could take the tip off. There's it goes from 1 to 3 here, so I'll prune out the middle shoot like that. These branches are very flexible on these pines. I don't think I want to take any vigor out of this one. I could shorten it back to this one branch here, but I think also it needs to be a little longer to stay out of the shadow of the branch above the apex. I could, on the apex here, I've got the one branch dividing into 2, and the stronger part of it kind of leans over towards this branch over here. So if I wanted to redirect the apex more vertical, I could prune off this one. And I think I will. I'm going to try pruning it back instead of taking it right off. So that'll just knock some vigor out of it. So I'll prune it back to some healthy growth right about here. Just taking the tip off that branch. And I think that's about all the pruning I can do for now. So the next job is to start the root pruning, get it out of the pot, and see what I can do with the roots. And I was going to put it in this plastic kind of training pot. I don't really like the colanders that much. We'll see what the roots look like, but the other day this thing rolled off the bench, and I'm not really happy with these rounded bottom pots. So I think I want something a little more stable. I had a look around and I found this square pot, which is a lot tougher and stronger than this one. It's kind of flexible, that pot. So I'm going to use this square pot. It's a nice depth for a pine. I think it'll grow really well in here. I'll remove the tree from the pot. It's already been removed a couple of times this year. One when I was just checking the roots. So I don't see any new root growth. If you look at the bottom here, the roots aren't active yet. If anything, you know, it's starting to turn a little light at the tip here, so it's just starting to get active. So a really good time of the year to repot. So I'll get the roots raked out. So again, I'll start in the middle of the trunk and rake outwards in a radial fashion, radial pattern. There's a stump of something here that died in the pot. I think it was some kind of seedling that started growing. We'll get that out. So again, I'm only ripping through crossing roots. All my radial roots won't be touched by the root rake. So, and it's really important to get your roots sorted out. So this tree, I think, I'm trying to think when the last time it was that I repotted it. I could go in and check the playlist, I guess. Maybe I'll do that. Let me just check the playlist and I'll just see when this was last repotted. I checked the playlist for this tree, so I don't think I've ever repotted it. I dug it up from the wild and put it in this colander, and it's been there. And I collected it in 2015, so it's been in there 6 years now, which is quite a long time. And I checked the top here. So this branch, that branch that didn't develop buds, that was the apex of the tree. And I snipped it off, and the branches around it have grown, and I've got some new back buds in there. So that's kind of encouraging, the fact that, you know, I'm getting back budding and it's doing well. And I suspect that apex, the former apex, will certainly bud out eventually. I don't think there'll be a problem there. All right, let's continue with the repotting now. The first time in 6 years. The soil I mix up for this tree, I will put Tom's reptile bark in with the soil. I'll give that a try. I think it'll help the tree. I'm hoping somewhere down here there's some good surface roots too, because I'm quite sure I did a bit of root pruning when I potted this up. So I'm kind of getting down to the root base there, and it is flaring out nicely. So that's good to see that there is some good radial roots in here. Just running the end of the root rake through, like kind of like a root hook or a chopstick. Just kind of breaking up the root base here. So I'm just untangling the roots here, trying to kind of get them nice and radial and breaking up all the congested areas. I think I have enough of the root base kind of broken up and combed out that I can take it over to the washing station and kind of get all this old soil out of here and dead roots and whatever else is in here. All right, into the water it goes. I can start kind of getting rid of all the old soil. There's definitely no new root growth from this year yet. So it's definitely not too late to repot this tree. This is the bottom of the colander down here. There's a lot of soil. Just digging that out. Yeah, so not a lot of growth, root growth on the inside here. It's all near the edges for aeration. Well, they were looking for oxygen, I guess. So there's dead roots on it, and that happens typically on pines. You get the finer roots die over winter, generates new roots in spring, and they kind of grow into this old organic matter, kind of create their own soil. So far this looks like it has a really good root system on it. Nice and radial. It's getting some good growth at the base here. Bit of trunk flare. So that's good to see. Well, that's pretty well bare rooted now. Definitely enough that I can start the root pruning. And then I'll give it a final wash before I plant it. All right, let's head back to the bench and begin root pruning. All right, here's our root base. So I'm going to start by removing some of the roots that are going straight down. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few in here. So let me get the scissors. I'll just start sipping them off. Some of them are dead. Like I think that one's dead. Anything that's black is usually dead on these pines. It's the kind of reddish colored ones that are living roots. Over here you can see a lot of roots that were curling around the bottom of the pot. Just pull them off. I think they're dead anyway. Yeah. A lot of dead roots in there. So that's kind of got the root base fairly flat on the bottom. There's another one I could take off here. And why do I need it flat on the bottom when it's going in a fairly deep pot, you ask? Well, it's developed that trunk flare to get all these radial roots working, thickening up, and it makes that nice transition from the soil into the trunk. Nice smooth transition. Yeah, the root base is looking pretty good. I will have to do a little bit of pruning here. There's a crossing root here. It's got to come off. Like that. There's one sticking straight up here, here. Needs to come off. There's one sticking up here. Just a general trim to the outside here. Trim off all those roots that are kind of curling down into the pot. Keep them spreading out. Going around. So I've got this root here. I'm not sure if I can bend it down into the soil. I might be able to. I'll keep it because I think I can position it so it looks good. There's one sticking up here I've got to get rid of. Like that. One here too I can get rid of. Yeah, I think that'll do. That one's kind of an ugly root, but I'll take it off. There's a nice root beside it here, and I don't need it. So I'm just going to remove it. Like that. There's a thick root here that's kind of growing from the underneath of the tree. I'm going to remove that one also. It's kind of spoiling that nice flat root base on the bottom. That's much better. Okay, just a little profile pruning here. Just to kind of balance the root system so it's kind of growing evenly in all directions. That'll maintain a good branch structure up top and a nice round trunk. All right, I think that's good for the root pruning. I think I'm really happy with that. All right, let's prepare the pot and the soil for our tree. I've got a nice size square drainage screen for the bottom of the pot. So I'll put that in place so that covers all the holes nicely. I'm going to have to mix up some new soil, so I've got all my ingredients here. I have perlite, safety zorb, or 100% fuller's earth. It's an oil absorbent. It's a clay product. And I have premium reptile bark. This is what Tom sent me. Now normally I use like a composted pine bark, but this will be just as good. I mix the ingredients together. I put 50% perlite and 50% safety zorb by volume, mix them together in a bin, and then I add like 10, maybe 15, maybe 20% of this pine bark to it. And that's it. That's my kind of coniferous soil mix, and it seems to work really well. When you're mixing your soil, I would recommend you use a dust mask because this stuff is kind of nasty to inhale in your lungs. To make the soil, I sift it through this sieve, which has like, I would say there may be 3 millimeter size screen, maybe about an 1/8 inch. And I sift out all the fine particles, and then I keep the coarser material for my soil. The fine particles tend to clog up all the air spaces in the soil, and your roots don't grow as nicely. The reptile bark is a good size already. There's no fine particles in it, so I can just put that straight in here. All right, here goes the perlite. See how dusty it is? I sift out all the fine stuff. And when I'm making soil, I don't measure out anything. I just kind of guess visually when I've got the right amount of each ingredient in here. So this looks about the right amount of turfus versus perlite in the soil. I've mixed it up. So now I'm going to add the reptile bark. All right, here I go. I'll just kind of add about that much. Let me mix it up, see what it looks like. I think I can use a little bit more. Maybe there. I don't know how important the reptile or the pine bark is to the soil, but I put it in anyway. It doesn't harm it. Let's put one more handful. So here's what the soil looks like now with the pine bark, the turfus, and the perlite. A nice loose crumbly mix. That's really good for root growth. While I've been mixing up the soil, I've got the tree over in the tub of water over here, just to keep the roots from drying out. So let's get it out of the tub now, and over to the bench. That's a nice root system. You can see there's some serrations on the trunk where the bark's splitting down at the base there. That's kind of nice. Eventually the whole trunk will be like that. Seems to fit in the pot really nicely too. Okay, that's good. I'll get my base layer of soil in the pot, so I'll need to fill it up maybe about 3/4 full. I think that's a good height for my base layer of soil. I'll just try the tree out in the pot. Yeah, that's a good height. Yeah, I don't think I want the tree any higher in the pot than that. I could maybe just put a little bit of a mound in the middle. Like that, and then I'll place the tree on top. Like that, and kind of twist it a bit. Make sure all my roots are kind of combed out. I'll get the root rake. And I haven't really picked a front for the tree or anything yet. It's just too early. I mean, I could, but the tree is definitely still under development. Early stages. Okay, so I think because it has this bend in the trunk, I don't know if that'll correct itself or not. I think I want to angle my root base just slightly to kind of straighten the top of the tree out a bit to maybe there. So I'll start filling in the soil now. I don't think I need to do any more root work. I think it's all looking good. All right, here I go with the soil now. I'll just put a little bit, work it into the roots. And I can add more. So I'm definitely going to have to place some rocks in that on top of the tree to hold it into the pot, because it's got quite a bit of, you know, needle area which can blow in the wind and uproot the tree. So now let's see if it stays there by itself. It does. I can see it's a little wiggly. I need to do more getting the soil into those roots. Or what do you call this? Is there a name for this operation? There should be. What are you going to call this operation? Soil integration. It's the soil integration process. I'm integrating my soil into the root base. It's very scientific. Okay, I think another scoop of soil here, and that'll be about it. It'll be filled up just below the edge of the pot, I hope. Well, my roots are safely in the soil there. Yeah, that's looking good. All right, I'm going to give it a watering now. Here I go with the water. And I'll give it a good soaking. I'll run several watering cans through the soil, because the pine bark will take a while to absorb all the water, and same with the perlite and the safety orb. and I want to flush out all the dust and fine particles out the bottom of the pot. All right, here I go with more rainwater. Starting to run out the bottom of the pot now. I think that'll do for the watering. I will come back in a couple hours and give it another soaking just to make sure everything's fully saturated. I'm going to place some stones on the surface of the soil here. That'll hold the tree in the pot nicely in the wind and all that, so it won't tip over. And it kind of stops a lot of surface evaporation of the water and keeps the soil kind of at a more even humidity level. So I'll do that now. I've got a great big heavy one I can put on here. Like that. And then I've got a big round one I can put out front here. I think I'll get one more for over here. There. A trio of rocks. So that's really secure in the pot. That'll never tip over even in the strongest winds. So hopefully the tree will get through this repotting without any trouble. I don't think it'll have a problem. I didn't take a whole lot of root off of it, and it has a nice root system. The roots were dormant, so it's good timing, good time of the year to do it. It's got a good healthy green canopy on it with new candles forming for this year's growth, so I don't think it'll be a problem. I hope not anyway. So I'll keep you updated on the story of the little native white pine, 6 years old from when I dug it up. It's come a long way, but it's got a long way to go. Before we go today, I'll give you a few updates of what's going on here, what I've been working on, and what my wife has been working on. Let's check in now and see what Laura's working on. It looks like a door. So this is the door for her greenhouse. The other one's falling apart. It's a big glass one. And when the wind blows, it kind of swings the door, and it kind of, I think it broke one of the glass pieces, didn't it? Yeah. So she's making this door out of 2x4s from used skids. Not used, yeah, used skids. So it's looks pretty strong. Looks pretty heavy too.
Yeah.
Is it heavy to lift? Or?
Yeah, it's I mean, luckily it doesn't have glass in it, but
yeah.
I'm gonna have screening, like the hardware cloth.
And plastic?
And then plastic for winter. Well,
Oh, that'll be nice. So you can open it up if you want.
yeah.
Oh, that'll be nice. Well, it looks good. You're just putting stain on it now.
Yeah, like I didn't have any, like this is all used stain, right? So I didn't have any of the kind that I'm supposed to have, which is that cedar color.
Okay.
So it's gonna be
Green doors
It's gonna be green doors.
on a red structure.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. So the day turned out really nice. I did all the manure in the morning, the horse manure. So I been bringing my tropical trees back out into the greenhouse, so they'll like getting some fresh air and sunshine. And oh, the larch forest always looks nice backlit. Wow. I may have to prune the apexes on them. I kind of left everything a little longer than normal. I just wanted to make sure everything was coming out into leaf okay. I didn't want to like minimize the apex and then, you know, get hit by frost and have part of it die off. So I kind of left them a little fuller than normal, and now that, you know, they've come out into leaf, I can prune them back. I can still see all the individual branches. So I can prune the apexes back to take vigor out of the apex and keep the strength kind of evenly distributed on the trees. I'm still working on cleaning up the bonsai area. I got a lot of pots here I got to organize. So all that manure I got, we put it in these composters. You can see it in there. Really nice stuff. So that's just there to be used for, you know, whoever wants to use it in the garden here, or I use it by my cedars by the fence over there. So yeah, we've got it all in one spot now. We did have rain earlier, but it didn't last very long. So it's getting towards the evening now. So I'm putting my trees in the greenhouse. It's going to be quite warm tonight, and I've got the heat on in the greenhouse. So the trees should be fine. I've got some of my bigger trees out here just to make a little more space in the plant room, so maybe, you know, if we do get a day of rain, I can make a video inside. So I got the acacias out here, my ficus, microcarpa, my other ficus fancy, my sarissa, and my willow leaf ficus in the corner there. So I'm going to bring more trees out, fill this greenhouse up, because it doesn't look like the temperatures, it goes down cool, but not really, not into the danger zone, not towards freezing. So that's good. So I can bring more trees out into the greenhouse here. The maple forest that I repotted recently is coming into leaf, so hopefully it'll grow roots and continue to grow. Even if these trees had no roots, if I cut them off totally, it would probably still come out into leaf. So just because they come out into leaf doesn't mean the roots are in good shape. So yeah, the next test will be to see if these leaves survive and they continue to grow in the future. There are some cool clouds in the sky. I love looking at clouds. You can see some really cool ones some days. So that's really awesome. My yellow hibiscus in the plant room has a nice flower out today. Boy, it just keeps flowering that. This morning I worked on this area. I got rid of all my sob parts. I've got them out front. Oh, and there's the kitty. Hi, kitty. There's our stray cat there. Kitty. Kitty. Hi. Hello, kitty. How are you? Hi. She doesn't come over and say hi yet, but how you doing? Hello. You're a cute kitty. Yes, you are. Anyway, I got cleaned up all this area of all the sob parts. I've got them up front. Yeah, so up front here, I've got all the sob parts ready to load into the truck, and I'll take that to the metal recycling place. Laura's greenhouse doors are gone. Let's go see where they are. So back here, she's finished her doors. She's got them mounted up. She just has to put the hardware on to, you know, keep them closed. So they're just screened in at the moment, so they're, you know, good airflow can go through there. And then in the winter time, or when it's cooled down, she can put plastic on the doors to kind of keep it warmer inside. She put 2 grades of mesh here, a finer grade at the bottom that stops mice and stuff getting in, and then up top she kept it open, a larger mesh, so that bees and insects could fly in there to pollinate her stuff, all her plants in there. So kind of cool. It looks good. Nice solid doors on the greenhouse. So that's a job done for Laura. It's kind of amazing. I just finished the video and now it's perfectly quiet in the neighborhood. All the lawnmowers have stopped, the music. So it's nice and peaceful, a nice peaceful evening. Probably end up watering my trees. Oh, look at the larch forest. It's glowing. Like that. Moss is looking really good. My moss bushes are developing well. The needles are nice and green on the trees. So I think in the next video I'm going to do the thinning up top on them, like I mentioned. Yeah, everything's doing well. So far anyway. I've got all my tropical trees back in the greenhouse, and I've really been misting in there, wetting down all the benches, misting all the plastic, so the humidity in there is really high, and it's been really warm in there today. I'm trying to grow more aerial roots in my ficus. That's the reason for doing that. I'll go in. I think it'll fog up right away, but we'll see. Here we go. Yeah, so I've got a lot of tropical trees in here already. Got my big ficus lyrata up there. Terrible tree for bonsai, but I'm growing one. Sarissa's looking good. It needs a pruning. Got my bougainvillea back there. My very first ficus I grew from a seed.
Looking good. Orange tree back there. My acacias, lemon tree, natal plum. This is my princess earrings. It didn't like it in my plant room. I think it was too dark. So I moved it out here, and it's growing, but not real well. I think they're a difficult plant to grow unless you have good light in a greenhouse. Here's a look in Laura's greenhouse. So she's got tomatoes started, and are they from seed, Laura?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from seed.
The Amish paste.
Amish paste tomatoes.
For making tomato sauce.
Good for tomato sauce. There is this name there, Amish paste. Yeah, so they're looking pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and just the strawberries are still...
Strawberries are blooming here.
Yeah.
Looking good, and everything's looking good over here.
Mm-hmm.
Both my wife and I did buy one of these little cherry trees the other day. So that's kind of cool. She's got a lot of them back here.
Yeah, the flowers are just opening on the cherry tree. I think there's ants on it. Can you see the one that you just filmed?
Oh, okay.
These little tiny flowers.
Oh yeah, right over here there's flowers on it. Yeah, there's ants pollinating it.
Yeah.
And what's over here? There's some more tomatoes?
Yeah, those are the kind of the Roma and
Roma.
also tomato sauce.
And is your fig tree growing?
It still is looking pretty stick-like.
But there is green buds at the end here.
Yeah.
Well, it'll come.
Yeah.
Surprised it's not out yet.
And those are the house caps. You can see the house caps are just coming. Those little
Oh yeah, they're flowering, yeah.
Yeah, there's little green house caps behind the double flowers. I think it's dioecious.
Okay. Yep. Wow. It's cool in here. Very green too. And that's it for the updates for this video. Big steps forward for my eastern white pine, repotting it and a bit of pruning. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.